I'm Ted Berg for SNY.TV, and today on Know Your Enemy, presented by Pepsi Max, we look at the Rays as the Yanks host Tampa for an AL East showdown at the stadium. Skyping into the studio to talk to us is Cork Gaines from RaysIndex.com. Cork, how are you?
I'm doing great. Great to be here.
Cork, we normally start out with a good thing for the opposing team, and one of the things that came up the last time or early in the season when the Yanks played the Rays was the aggressive defensive shifts that the Rays used. A-Rod had a quote, I think he said, we were just hitting it into the teeth of their secondary every time. To what extent do you think that has contributed to the Rays' success this year?
Quite a bit, actually. I mean, the Rays have always, especially Joe Maddon, has always used shifts quite a lot, and this year they're using it at an alarming rate, and it's quite amazing. You'll see it even more against teams like the New York Yankees, where they have a lot of veteran players. So with those veteran players comes a lot of historical data that Joe Maddon can pull from, and they get a better and more a stronger sense of where those guys are going to hit the ball. So the Rays use it a lot, but you're going to see it a lot against teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox.
And it seems like they've sort of ushered it into vogue in baseball now too.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's almost like we're kind of seeing this revolution in the way the defense is played in Major League Baseball, and I suspect probably in the next 5 to 6 years, you're going to shifts are going to become more common than uncommon, and it'll be a case where infielders will be kind of generic position players where they're constantly being moved around from batter to batter.
Like a post-position baseball future. Well, on the flip side of things for the Rays is the injuries, and they've just had a lot of trouble staying healthy this year, even though they've been winning throughout.
Yeah, they have been, and you've got obviously key players like Evan Longoria and Desmond Jennings on the disabled list, and they've just constantly have this stream of guys who probably should be in the minor leagues that are coming up and filling in and playing different positions and positions that they're not used to playing, and part of that is a testament to the flexibility of the Rays roster, but it also it hurts in the long run offensively. Now the key is that for the most part the pitching rotation has stayed healthy. They've lost Jeff Neiman, but they have Alex Cobb come up from AAA and fill in pretty nicely. So as long as the pitching staff stays healthy, and especially the rotation, this team is going to win more games than they're going to lose. You mentioned the pitchers, and Cobb's going tomorrow. We'll talk about him in a sec. Tonight's starter, James Shields, is a guy who had a huge year last year, had sort of an underwhelming year the year before, but his rate stats have stayed consistent throughout. Is he going to hit harder this year because he's been back down towards that 2010 season again? Well, I think that 2011 was one of those special years that good pitchers will have from time to time. James Shields is going to be a very good, very consistent pitcher. 2011 might have been kind of his peak, his high water, but you're always going to get a solid performance out of James Shields. He's going to consistently give you 210, 215 innings every year, and he's kind of that workhorse that you'd love to have at the top of your rotation, and most teams would love to have.
And in tomorrow's starter, Alex Cobb, the Rays have a guy who struck out a ton of batters in the minors, but hasn't really translated that in the majors. Is that something about his stuff?
A little bit. I mean, he's not an overpowering guy. He's got kind of a low 90s fastball. He's a guy that's going to rely a little bit more on his location and his command within the strike zone, and to a certain extent his changeup, which some people think is his strongest pitch and has the potential to be as good as James Shields. I think James Shields has one of the best changeups in the game, so I don't know if that's quite possible, but he's going to evolve in a very good pitcher. In the minor leagues he was able to dominate the hitters a little bit better, but once he gets that changeup rolling, he can be quite effective at the major league level also. And finally, Thursday's starter, there's not much more to say about, but David Price has just been awesome. He has been, and this has been kind of his coming out party this year, and I think we're finally starting to see just how great and how dominating he can be. He's in past seasons he's had to rely a little bit too much on his fastball maybe. I mean, you can kind of get away with that at times, but when you're throwing 90% fastballs, especially against good teams like the Yankees or Red Sox, they're going to find a way to hit a fastball even if it's 97, 98 miles per hour. So, he's been working in secondary pitches, and, he's just been, absolutely fabulous this season and off to a very good year. Cork, thanks so much. Always my pleasure. Remember, for all the latest Yankees coverage, be sure to check in at itsaboutthemoney.net and chat with other Yankee fans throughout the series at nyfans.com.